Teeman stood at the large window of the Earth Embassy, watching 3 alien ships descend through the clouds. Their hulls shimmered with colors he had never seen before. After 200 years of reaching for the stars, humanity had finally found others. The Galactic Council had come to Earth. "They're beautiful," Haijin said beside him. She was Earth's top scientist, the woman who had helped humanity build their first faster-than-light engines. "I never thought this day would come." Teeman nodded but said nothing. He had been chosen as Earth's ambassador because he could speak well and think fast. Today, he would need both skills. The Council ruled over 12 alien species across thousands of star systems. They wanted humanity to join them as the 13th member. It seemed like a dream come true. The alien ships landed in the plaza outside. Doors opened and 3 different beings stepped out. The first was tall and thin, covered in shining plates like an insect. Its eyes were large and black. This was a Vexstar, a merchant species known across the galaxy. The second looked like it was made of flowing water, constantly shifting shape. A Krell, one of the galaxy's greatest strategists. The third was the strangest, a being of pure light contained in a floating crystal. A Druna scholar, a species that had left their physical bodies behind. Long ago, Teeman walked out to greet them with a team of diplomats and soldiers. Nari, the chief military advisor, walked 2 steps behind him. She was a careful woman who trusted no one easily. Teeman wished he had her caution, but today was a day for hope. "Welcome to Earth," Teeman said, extending his hand in the human greeting. The Vexstar clicked its mandibles in what might have been a smile. "We are honored to visit the birth world of humanity," the creature said. Its voice came through a translator device that hung in the air. "The Council has watched your progress with great interest. You have developed faster-than-light travel in record time. You have established colonies on 6 worlds. You are ready to join the galactic community." The negotiations took place in a great hall built just for this meeting. Representatives from every nation on Earth watched through screens. The Council representatives spoke of peace, of trade routes that would bring wealth to human worlds, of technologies that would cure diseases and extend human life. They showed videos of their peaceful civilizations, cities that floated in the clouds, farms that grew food without soil, ships that could cross the galaxy in days. "But there is one condition," the Krell said, its watery form rippling with each word. "All Council species must follow the laws of galactic peace. These laws have kept our civilizations safe for 10,000 years. Teeman leaned forward. "What laws?" The Druna-S crystal pulsed with light. "All member species must reduce their military forces. War is a thing of the past. The Council Defense Fleet protects all members. Individual species need only small patrol forces to guard their immediate space." "How small?" Nari asked. Her voice was sharp. 20% of your current fleet," the Vexstar said. "You must surrender 80% of your military ships. They will be peacefully dismantled. The materials will be used to build trade vessels." The room went silent. Teeman felt his stomach tighten. Humanity had built a strong military because space was dangerous. They had encountered hostile creatures on some worlds, pirates that raided the outer colonies and radiation storms that could destroy unprotected ships. Their military kept Earth safe. "That seems like a lot," Teeman said carefully. "Can we discuss a different number?" "The laws are the same for all species," the Druna said. The Vexstar reduced their fleet. The Krell reduced their fleet. All 12 species followed this law. "It is the price of peace. What if we are attacked?" Nari asked. "What if something threatens our colonies before the Council fleet can arrive?" "That has never happened," the Krell said. "In 10,000 years, no Council member has been attacked. The Council Defense Fleet is strong. Our reputation keeps enemies away. You will be safer as a Council member than you have ever been." The Council representatives showed them data. Charts and graphs filled the screens, showing centuries of peace. They showed the destruction caused by species that refused to join the Council, species that clung to their weapons and eventually destroyed themselves in wars. They made it look simple: Join and have peace, or refuse and face destruction alone. Timon called for a break. The human representatives gathered in a private room. Arguments started immediately. "We cannot give up our fleet," Nari said. "It leaves us helpless." "They have kept peace for 10,000 years, another diplomat argued. "Maybe we can finally stop spending so much on weapons. Think of what we could build instead." "Think of the trade opportunities," someone else said. "Human goods could reach 1,000 worlds. We could be rich beyond imagination. Or we could be conquered," Nari shot back. "We would have no way to defend ourselves." Timon listened to them argue for hours. Finally, he made a decision. "We put it to a vote. Every nation on Earth gets to decide. This is too important for one person to choose." The vote took 3 days. People argued in the streets, on news programs, in homes around the world. Some said the council was humanity's salvation. Others said it was a trap. In the end, 73% voted yes. Humanity would join the Galactic Council. Do-Yun watched from the bridge of his ship, the Indomitable. He was the captain of Earth's finest warship, a vessel that had protected human space for 20 years. Now he was being ordered to fly it to a dismantling station. 80% of Earth's fleet would be destroyed. His ship was on the list. "Orders confirmed, Captain," his first officer said. "We depart in 6 hours." Do-Yun looked at his crew. "Good people, trained and ready for anything." "Begin preparations," he said quietly. He felt like he was making a terrible mistake, but orders were orders. 3 months later, the dismantling was complete. Earth had only a handful of patrol ships left. The council representatives smiled and welcomed humanity into their great civilization. They signed treaties and opened trade routes. Human goods began flowing to alien markets. Alien technologies arrived on Earth. Timon gave a speech to the world. "Today we begin a new chapter in human history. Today we join the stars not as conquerors but as partners. Today we choose peace." In her office, Nari watched the speech on a screen. She did not smile. Something felt wrong, but she could not explain what. She had spent her life protecting humanity, and now she felt like they had given away their only shield. Haijin was excited. She was being invited to council research stations to study their advanced physics. Do-Yun was reassigned to command a patrol vessel, a ship so small it could barely defend itself against pirates. Across human space, soldiers and officers wondered what they would do now that their purpose was gone. The council representatives left Earth with promises to return soon. Their ships lifted into the sky and vanished among the stars. Behind them, humanity celebrated their new friendship, unaware of the nightmare that was coming. 6 months passed. Life in human space seemed peaceful. Ships carried goods between Earth and alien markets. Human students studied at council universities. The news showed happy stories of humans making friends with strange creatures from distant worlds. Everything seemed perfect. Then the messages stopped. Gunwoo sat in his command center on Haven's Rest, a human colony world on the edge of explored space. 3,000 people lived here, farming and mining the rich soil. It was a quiet place, far from Earth but connected by regular supply ships and communication signals. Except the signals had stopped coming 3 days ago. "Still nothing?" Gunwoo asked his communication officer. "Nothing, sir. The relay stations are not responding. I have sent repair requests but received no answers." Gunwoo frowned. Communication problems happen sometimes, but 3 days was unusual. He sent a message drone toward Earth, a small automated ship that would physically carry his report. It was old technology, but reliable. On Earth, Soman was working late in her office. She was an intelligence officer, trained to find patterns in data. For weeks, something had bothered her. Small things. A report here, a missing signal there. Colony worlds losing contact. Supply ships delayed. The council said these were normal problems, just technical difficulties as humanity integrated into galactic systems, but Soman did not believe in coincidences. She had requested data on every communication failure, every delayed shipment, every strange report from the past 6 months. Now she spread it all across her screens and started looking for patterns. What she found made her blood run cold. Every human colony on the frontier had reported communication problems. Every single one. The problems started at the furthest colonies and slowly moved inward. Like a wave approaching Earth, the Council kept saying it was technical issues, but the pattern was too perfect. Someone was systematically cutting off human colonies from Earth. Someone dug deeper. She hacked into databases she was not supposed to access, using skills she had learned in military intelligence before joining the diplomatic corps. She found encrypted Council transmissions, messages sent between Council ships in human space. The encryption was strong, but Soman was better. It took her 2 days to crack the code. She wished she had never succeeded. The messages talked about the human harvest. They discussed auction prices for human colony worlds. The Vexstar had been busy selling 3 human colonies to something called the Ravagers. The price was listed in galactic credits. Earth itself was scheduled for auction in 2 years. After humanity was fully disarmed and pacified, Soman stood up so fast her chair fell over. Her hands shook as she copied the data to a secure drive. She had to tell someone. She had to warn Earth, but who would believe her? The Council was humanity's friend. Everyone said so. If she made wild accusations without proof, she would be called paranoid. Maybe even arrested for hacking Council systems. She needed more evidence. She needed someone to witness what was happening. On Haven's Rest, Gunwoo was eating dinner when the alarms started. Red lights flashed through the colony. His communicator buzzed with panicked voices. Ships incoming. Unknown vessels. Gunwoo ran to the command center. His screen showed 20 ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel above the colony. They were not human ships. They were not Council ships. They looked like predators, all sharp edges and weapons. Hailing them now, his officer said. Unknown vessels, this is Haven's Rest colony. Please identify yourselves. The response came in broken English, filtered through a translator. This world belongs to us now. We have purchased it legally. Evacuate or die? Purchased? Gunwoo said. What are you talking about? This is human territory. Check with the Council. We bought this world from the Vexstar. You have 1 hour to evacuate. Gunwoo's mind raced. This made no sense. The colony had no weapons. They had a few small shuttles, but nowhere to evacuate 3,000 people. He tried to call the Council emergency fleet. No response. He tried to call Earth. No response. The communication relay was completely dead. They were alone. Yejun was a young pilot stationed at Haven's Rest. He was 23 years old and had joined the colony security force to see the frontier. When the alarm sounded, he ran to his small patrol ship. It had light weapons, nothing that could fight 20 warships, but he had to try something. All pilots launch. Gunwoo's voice came through the radio. Buy time for the evacuation shuttles. Yejun's hands shook as he lifted his ship into the sky. 5 other patrol ships joined him. Together they flew toward the enormous warships. It felt like throwing pebbles at mountains. The Ravagers did not wait 1 hour. They opened fire 10 minutes later. Gunwoo managed to send one final transmission before the first bombs hit. He activated the old message drone he had prepared days ago, loaded with everything he had seen. The drone launched just as the command center exploded around him. 3 weeks later, the drone reached Earth. Soman was the one who found it. She had been waiting, checking for any signal from Haven's Rest. When the drone arrived, she downloaded its data and watched Gunwoo's final recording. He looked tired and scared. Behind him, alarms were ringing. This is Commander Gunwoo of Haven's Rest. We are under attack by ships claiming they bought our world from the Council. Earth, they betrayed us. The Council sold us out. Get ready for... The recording ended in static. Soman took the data directly to Nari. The military advisor watched the recording 3 times without speaking. Then she looked at Soman with eyes full of rage. Gather everything you have. Every message, every file, every piece of evidence. We are going to the World Assembly. They presented their findings to the leaders of Earth. The room erupted in chaos. Some refused to believe it. Others demanded immediate action. Timon, who had negotiated humanity's entry into the council, sat in silence as his world collapsed around him. "I need to speak to the council," he finally said. "There must be an explanation." He went to the council embassy on Earth and demanded a meeting. The Vexstar ambassador saw him immediately, which should have been his first warning. "Ambassador Timon," the creature said pleasantly. "How may I assist you?" "Haven's Rest was attacked. 3,000 humans are dead or missing. The attackers said they bought the world from you. Tell me this is not true." The Vexstar was quiet for a moment. "I see the misunderstanding. Yes, certain colony worlds have been transferred to other species for development. This is normal galactic commerce. The humans living there should have been notified of the transition." "Notified?" Timon could not believe what he was hearing. "You sold our people?" "We sold unprofitable frontier worlds. The previous inhabitants can relocate. The council offers generous compensation packages. They're dead. The new owners killed them. That is unfortunate, but not the council's responsibility. The buyers acted outside council law. We will file a complaint." Timon felt something break inside him. "We trusted you, and we welcomed you into civilized space. This is how the galaxy works, Ambassador? Stronger species control resources. Weaker species adapt or perish. Humanity is still learning its place." Timon left the embassy in a daze. By the time he reached his transport, council security forces were surrounding it. They arrested him for disturbing galactic peace and took him to a council ship on Earth. Panic spread as news of the betrayal reached the public. The council responded by moving their warships into orbit around Earth. They called it protection, but everyone could see it was a blockade. Nari stood in the military command center. Looking at the tactical display, 30 council warships surrounded Earth. Humanity's remaining patrol vessels could do nothing against them. They had been completely outmaneuvered. "We gave them everything," an officer said bitterly. "We trusted them and they destroyed us." "Not yet," Nari said quietly. "They have not destroyed us yet." She thought about every military officer who had argued against disarmament. She thought about secret conversations, hidden facilities, and people who had refused to follow orders. Not everyone had dismantled their weapons. Not everyone had trusted the council. "Get me Minseo," she said. "Tell him the commander wants to call in every favor he owes me. Tell him it is time." Around human space, 3 more colonies were attacked. The council called them unfortunate incidents. They promised investigations that never came. They offered thoughts and prayers instead of protection. Humanity began to understand the truth. The council had not invited them to join a peaceful civilization. They had systematically disarmed humanity so they could sell human worlds to the highest bidder. Every promise had been a lie. Every treaty had been a trap. And now Earth stood alone, surrounded by enemies, with almost no weapons left to defend itself. The dream of joining the stars had become a nightmare. But humanity had survived nightmares before. They had survived ice ages and plagues, wars and disasters. They had climbed from caves to reach the stars. The council had made one critical mistake. They had assumed humanity would accept their fate quietly. They did not understand that humans were most dangerous when they had nothing left to lose. Minseo lived in an asteroid mine far from Earth. Officially, he was a mining operations manager. Unofficially, he commanded a resistance cell that had never believed the council's promises. When Nari's message arrived, he smiled for the first time in months. "Wake everyone up," he told his second-in-command. "Tell them the commander is calling. It's time to work." Deep inside the asteroid, behind layers of rock and false mining tunnels, sat a facility the council knew nothing about. When the order came to dismantle Earth's weapons, Minseo and others like him had refused. They had hidden ships, stockpiled missiles, and kept building weapons in secret. They had been called paranoid and worse. Now they were humanity's only hope. Nari's command center filled with faces on screens. Minseo was there. So was Jiho, an engineer who had designed some of Earth's most advanced weapons. Ariam appeared on another screen, a young woman who looked too small to be dangerous, but was one of humanity's best hackers. Others joined too, men and women scattered across human space who had prepared for this exact moment. "The Council has betrayed us," Nari said without introduction. "Colonies are being sold and destroyed. Earth is blockaded. Ambassador Tiemann is a prisoner. We have perhaps 2 weeks before they make their next move. I need to know what we have." Minseo spoke first. 12 ships. Not the patrol junk we were allowed to keep. Real warships. We hid them during the dismantling, reported them as destroyed, but moved them to secure locations. They are old but functional. "I have weapons," Jiho said. "Project Reckoning. Antimatter torpedoes we developed in secret. Kinetic bombardment systems. Experimental railguns. I also have something bigger, but I need time to explain it properly." "We don't have time," Nari said. "Just tell me if it works." "It works. We can turn our warp drives into bombs. The energy release would be ... significant. How significant? It could crack a planet if placed correctly, or destroy a fleet in one hit." The room went silent. Humans had built weapons that could shatter worlds. In 6 months of peace, while everyone celebrated friendship with aliens, a small group had prepared for war. "What about intelligence?" Nari asked. "What do we know about the Council military?" Ariam grinned. "Everything. I have been inside their systems for 4 months. They have terrible security because no one has challenged them in centuries. I have their fleet positions, their battle doctrine, their command codes, everything. They are complacent and slow. Can you disrupt their communications? I can make their ships blind and deaf whenever you need." Nari felt hope rising in her chest. "Doyan, are you listening?" On his small patrol ship somewhere in deep space, Doyan sat up straighter. "I'm here, Commander. How many captains can you trust?" "Real captains, not politicians in uniforms. All of them. Every officer worth their rank knows we were betrayed. Give the word and they will follow you into hell itself." "Good, because that's exactly where we're going." The planning took 3 days. Nari pulled together every resource humanity had left. Minseo brought his hidden ships out of storage. Jiho started arming them with weapons that officially did not exist. Ariam mapped every council ship in human space and beyond. It was not much. Even with the hidden resources, humanity was vastly outnumbered. The council had thousands of ships. Humanity had dozens, but Nari was not planning to fight fairly. She was planning to fight smart. "The council thinks war is about formations and honor," she explained to her officers. "They have rules for combat, treaties about how battles should be conducted. They fight like it's a sport. They have forgotten that war is about destroying your enemy by any means necessary." "We don't have the ships for a straight fight," an officer said. "Then we don't fight straight. We hit them fast, we hit them hard, and we hit them in ways they cannot predict. We use every dirty trick humanity ever invented. We show them why Earth spent 10,000 years fighting itself. We learned how to kill. They forgot." Jiho presented his weapons to the gathered officers. He showed them missiles that split into hundreds of smaller missiles. Kinetic kill vehicles that were just chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds. Drones that could kamikaze into enemy ships. Nuclear weapons, chemical weapons, biological weapons. Everything the Council thought was barbaric and uncivilized. "These violate every galactic treaty," someone said. "The Council violated their treaty with us when they sold our colonies," Nari replied. "We tried peace. They chose war. Now they get war on our terms?" A rescue mission was planned for Tiemann. He was being held on a council station above Earth, guarded by a small security force. The council thought humanity was helpless, so they had not bothered with heavy security. That was their second mistake. Doyan led the rescue personally. His patrol ship, supposedly harmless, docked at the station as if making a routine delivery. When the airlock opened, 20 human Marines in combat armor stormed through. The station guards were ceremonial police who had never seen real combat. They did not stand a chance. Timan was found in a comfortable cell, alive but exhausted. I tried to reason with them, he said as Do-yeon pulled him out. They just laughed. We're done reasoning, Do-yeon said. Now we make them stop laughing. The rescue took 8 minutes. By the time council reinforcements arrived, Do-yeon's ship was already gone. Jumping to faster-than-light speed with Timan aboard, the council was furious. They sent a message to Earth demanding Timan's return and threatening severe consequences. Nari responded by broadcasting a message to every human in known space. People of Earth and the colonies, the Galactic Council has betrayed us. They sold our worlds. They killed our people. They thought we would accept this quietly because we are young and weak. They were wrong. Humanity has faced extinction before. We always survive. And this time we are not running. This time we fight. She paused. The Council fleet surrounds Earth. They think they have us trapped. They do not realize they have trapped themselves. In 72 hours we attack. We take back our freedom. We show the galaxy what happens when you betray humanity. This is our declaration of war. Tell your families you love them. Prepare for battle. And remember, we are not fighting for conquest. We are fighting for survival. That makes us more dangerous than anything the Council has ever faced. The message spread across human space within hours. People had been afraid, confused, angry. Now they had a direction. Volunteers flooded into recruiting stations. Scientists offered to help with weapons. Even civilians started preparing to fight if the Council invaded Earth. In orbit around Earth, the Council fleet commander received Nari's message and laughed. 72 hours? They announced their attack? How primitive. They do not understand warfare at all. He did not increase his defenses. He did not call for reinforcements. He assumed humanity's attack would be a desperate, futile gesture that his ships would crush easily. The Council had forgotten that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one with nothing left to lose. Hajin worked day and night on the warp bombs. Each one was a complete warp drive modified to detonate instead of creating a stable field. The explosion would tear a hole in space itself. She had calculated the yield. One bomb could destroy a dozen ships. The question was how to deliver them. Drones, Juho suggested. Small automated ships? Fly them into the middle of the enemy fleet and detonate. Cheap and effective. They'll shoot down drones, someone argued. Not if we send 1,000 at once, Juho replied. They cannot possibly stop them all. Nari approved the plan. Production started immediately. Humanity had good manufacturing facilities. They could build drones fast. The Council thought humanity was disarmed. They did not know that human factories had been secretly building weapons for months, waiting for this exact moment. 72 hours counted down. Across human space, ships gathered. Minseo's hidden warships emerged from their hiding places. Do-yeon's patrol ships were armed with the new weapons. Regular cargo ships were fitted with missile pods. Even civilian vessels volunteered to carry drones to the battle. It was not a proper military fleet. Half the ships were not even designed for combat. But it was everything humanity had, and they were ready to use it. On the last night before the attack, Nari stood alone in the command center. She looked at Earth turning slowly below her. Billions of people down there, trusting her to save them. She had spent her life in the military, but she had never commanded a war. No living human had. Humanity had enjoyed decades of peace before meeting the Council. Now that peace was over. The Council had taught humanity a hard lesson. Trust was dangerous. Peace was fragile. Safety was an illusion. The galaxy was not kind to the weak. We tried their way, Nari said to the empty room. We disarmed. We trusted. We followed their rules. They betrayed us. Now we fight our way. By our rules. And our rules are simple. Hurt us and we hurt you back 1,000 times worse. She pressed the button to begin the countdown. 72 hours had passed. The time for preparation was over. Now came the time for wrath. The attack began at exactly midnight, Earth time. The Council fleet commander was reviewing routine reports when his sensors lit up with warnings. Ships were approaching, dozens of them. He frowned and called his bridge crew to battle stations, but he was not worried. Humanity had almost no military left. This would be over quickly. He was right about it being over quickly. He was wrong about who would win. Do-yun's Indomitable led the first wave. The ship was old, but Jiho had filled it with new weapons. It came out of faster-than-light speed directly in the middle of the Council formation. The Council ships scrambled to respond, but they moved slowly, following ancient battle protocols that required proper spacing and formation. "Fire everything," Do-yun ordered. The Indomitable unleashed missiles. Not a few missiles, hundreds of them. They split into thousands of smaller warheads that scattered in every direction. The Council ships tried to shoot them down, but there were too many. Explosions rippled through the fleet as missiles found their targets. Before the Council could recover, the second wave hit. Minseo's hidden warships appeared on three sides, boxing in the Council fleet. They fired kinetic weapons, simple chunks of metal moving at extreme speeds. The Council shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They were not ready for solid projectiles moving fast enough to punch straight through armor. "What is this?" The Council commander shouted. "This is not proper warfare. They are using primitive weapons." His tactical officer looked at the screens in horror. "Sir, we're losing ships. They're not following any known battle doctrine. They're just attacking from every angle at once. Then we adapt. Return fire." But the Council ships were designed for ceremonial combat, battles where both sides followed rules. They had powerful weapons, but they were slow to aim and fire. By the time they locked onto a human ship, that ship had already moved and fired again. Yamen led the fighter squadrons. His ships were tiny compared to the massive Council warships, but that made them hard to hit. He flew his fighter straight at a Council cruiser, dodging its defensive fire with moves no computer could predict. At the last moment, he released a warp bomb drone and pulled away hard. The drone continued forward and smashed into the cruiser's hull. The explosion was beautiful and terrible. The warp drive detonated and tore a hole in space. The cruiser simply ceased to exist, along with two other ships that were too close. Yamen's radio filled with cheers from his pilots. "That's one," Yamen said. "On to the next target." On Earth, people watched the battle on screens. They saw human ships darting between the huge Council vessels like angry wasps attacking bears. They saw explosions lighting up the darkness of space. They saw Council ships trying to retreat and human ships pursuing them without mercy. Ariam sat in a quiet room surrounded by computer screens. While the physical battle raged, she fought her own war in cyberspace. Her fingers flew across keyboards as she attacked Council systems. She shut down their long-range communications so they could not call for help. She fed false data to their sensors. She even managed to hack into one ship's control system and turn off its engines, leaving it drifting helplessly while human ships destroyed it. "They never even encrypted their command codes properly," she muttered. "Amateurs." The Council commander realized his fleet was being destroyed. "Retreat! All ships retreat to safe distance." But Nari had planned for this. As the Council ships tried to run, they found human ships waiting at every escape route. Siwu, the strategic coordinator, had positioned forces at every likely retreat point. The Council fleet was not being defeated. It was being slaughtered. Within 4 hours, 30 Council ships had been reduced to 5. Those 5 were burning, damaged, running for their lives. Do-yun let them go. Let them carry word of what happened here. Let the Council know that humanity was no longer prey. Phase 1 complete, Nari announced. Begin Phase 2. Phase 2 was brutality on a scale the Council had never imagined. Human ships scattered across the galaxy, hitting Council targets everywhere at once. Minseo hit a Council shipyard, destroying half-finished vessels before they could launch. Yamen's fighters attacked supply depots, cutting off Council logistics. Do-yun took the Indomitable to a Council military station and demanded its surrender. When they refused, he used one of Haijin's warp bombs. The station and everything on it vanished in a flash of light. The Council species had not fought a real war in thousands of years. They had maintained their fleets for show, for peacekeeping, for ceremonial purposes. They had never faced an enemy that was trying to actually destroy them. Now they learned what war truly meant. Hannah commanded the human marine forces. When human ships captured council vessels, she led her marines in boarding actions. The council species were not prepared for close combat. The insectoid Vextar were strong, but slow in the confined spaces of ship corridors. The watery Krell could not maintain their form under sustained fire. The energy-based Druna could be disrupted with electromagnetic pulses. Human marines, trained in hundreds of different fighting styles, tore through council defenses. They were brutal and efficient. They took ships not by destroying them, but by overwhelming their crews and claiming the vessels intact. Every captured ship added to humanity's growing fleet. They fight like demons, a captured council officer said. They do not stop. They do not tire. They do not show mercy. We showed you mercy once, Hannah replied. You sold our children to slavers. You get no mercy from us now. The Krell home fleet attempted to regroup and mount a counterattack. They had 200 ships, the largest single force the council could gather quickly. Their admiral was a tactical genius who had studied warfare for centuries. He would crush these upstart humans and restore council authority. The Krell fleet never had a chance. Siwu tracked their movement and predicted where they would gather. When the Krell ships arrived at their rally point, they found human ships already waiting. Not close, but far out beyond sensor range. And between the human ships and the Krell fleet were dozens of warp bombs positioned perfectly. Detonate, Siwu ordered. Space itself seemed to scream as the bombs went off. 50 warp drives exploded simultaneously, creating a chain reaction of tearing space. The Krell fleet flew straight into the explosions. Ships were crushed, torn apart, scattered across light years in an instant. The entire fleet was destroyed before they even knew they were under attack. The Krell Admiral's final transmission was brief. What are they? Humanity pressed its advantage. They attacked council holdings throughout the galaxy. They targeted military bases, government centers, communication hubs. Anywhere the council had power, humanity struck. And they did not fight clean. They used tactics the council considered dishonorable: ambush, traps, false surrenders followed by attacks, targeting civilian infrastructure to create chaos. This violates the rules of warfare, the council protested. You cannot target non-military installations. Nari's response was broadcast to the entire galaxy. You violated every promise you made to us. You sold our civilians to be killed. You do not get to lecture us about rules. There are no rules anymore. There is only survival. And we are very good at surviving. The other council species began to panic. The Vextar tried to negotiate. The Druna tried to flee their home systems. Smaller member species watched in shock as the mighty council, which had ruled for 10,000 years, crumbled under humanity's assault within 2 weeks. Humanity had crippled the council's military structure. They had destroyed 70% of council warships. They had captured dozens of stations and starbases. They had proven something the galaxy thought impossible. A young species could defeat an ancient empire. Doyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at tactical displays showing human ships advancing on Nexus Prime, the council's capital world. We're ready for the final push, he reported to Nari. Do it, she said. End this. The human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light speed around Nexus Prime. The planet was beautiful, covered in floating cities and orbital rings. Billions of council citizens lived here, representing all 12 member species. This was the heart of their civilization. It was also now under siege. Human ships surrounded the planet. The council's last remaining defense fleet moved to intercept, but they were outnumbered and outmatched. Yemen's fighters swarmed over them. Minceo's warships pounded them with missiles. Hana's marines boarded and captured the flagship on Nexus Prime. The council members gathered in their great chamber and watched their fleet die. For the first time in 10,000 years, they felt fear. Real fear. The kind of fear that comes from facing an enemy that genuinely wants to destroy you. We must negotiate, one of the council members said. Offer them anything. Peace, reparations, their colonies back, anything. It's too late for that, another replied. We showed them what we are. They will not trust us again. They will not stop until we are destroyed. They were right. Humanity had learned its lesson. The galaxy was not kind. Peace required strength. Trust required consequences for betrayal. The council had betrayed that trust, and now they would pay the price. The message came from Nari herself. Council of the Galaxy. Your fleets are destroyed. Your military is broken. Your capital is surrounded. You have one choice: surrender completely or be annihilated. The council chamber on Nexus Prime fell silent. 12 species, rulers of the galaxy for 10,000 years, sat together in their great hall and realized they had lost. Above their world, human warships waited with weapons ready. One word from Nari and their civilization would end. We surrender, the Vexstar representative said finally. Its voice, normally so confident, now trembled. We surrender completely and unconditionally. The other council members agreed. What choice did they have? In 2 weeks, humanity had done what no species had done in millennia. They had defeated the council through sheer determination and ruthless warfare. The galaxy's most powerful empire had been brought to its knees by a species that had joined them only months ago. Nari arrived at Nexus Prime with Teeman at her side. The former ambassador looked different now. The kind, hopeful man who had negotiated Earth's entry into the council was gone. In his place was someone harder, someone who had seen betrayal and learned from it. They entered the council chamber together. The 12 representatives sat in their designated seats, looking small and defeated. The Druna-S crystal dimmed with shame. The Krell's watery form barely held its shape. The Vexstar could not meet their eyes. You said you wanted to surrender, Nari began. But surrender is not enough. You did not just attack humanity. We investigated your files. We know your history. You have done this before? 17 other species before us. You welcomed them, disarmed them, and sold them. Some were completely destroyed. Others scattered across the galaxy as refugees. You have been running this scheme for thousands of years. It was necessary, one council member tried to explain. Resources are limited. Younger species do not understand the complexity of galactic politics. You murdered billions of people for profit, Teeman said coldly. Do not pretend this was about politics. You are slavers and murderers. And now you will face justice. The council members looked at each other nervously. What kind of justice? Nari placed a document on the central table. These are our terms. The Galactic Council is dissolved immediately. Each member species will submit to war crimes tribunals. Every individual involved in the betrayal and sale of sentient species will face trial. Those found guilty will serve time rebuilding the colonies they helped destroy. This is impossible, the Vexstar protested. You cannot judge us. We are the Council. You were the Council, Nari corrected. Now you are prisoners. And you will accept these terms, or we will continue the war until your species are extinct. Choose. The council members realized she was not bluffing. Humanity had proven they could destroy the council species if they wanted to. The weapons that had shattered fleets could just as easily shatter planets. For the first time in their history, the council members felt truly powerless. We accept, they said together. Over the next months, the trials began. Do Yun was appointed as Grand Admiral of what was now called the Coalition Defense Force, a new military organization designed to prevent the Council's crimes from ever happening again. He took his duty seriously, rebuilding a fleet not for conquest but for protection. The Vexstar leaders were sentenced to hard labor. They would spend the next 30 years rebuilding Haven's Rest and the other colonies they had sold. Every day, they would work alongside human supervisors, building homes for families to replace the ones they had destroyed. It was fitting punishment. They had sold people like property. Now they would work like servants to undo the damage. The Krell admitted their crimes and asked for mercy. They received none. Their home fleet was completely dismantled. Their military academies were closed. For 50 years, they would not be allowed to build warships. They would spend that time as a peaceful species learning to survive without exploiting others. The Druna, beings of energy who claimed to be above physical concerns, discovered they were not above consequences. Their networks were shut down. Their research stations were seized. They would spend decades sharing their knowledge freely with all species, paying for their crimes with the one thing they valued, information, but the trials revealed something else. Evidence of 17 other species that had been betrayed before humanity. Some were extinct. Others had survived but barely scattered across distant star systems, hiding from the Council. Arium located them through old Council records. Ships were sent to find them. Teeman led the diplomatic mission personally. He found the Kaleri, a reptilian species that had been betrayed 200 years ago. Only 30,000 of them remained, hiding on a harsh desert world. When Teeman explained what had happened, that the Council had fallen and humanity was seeking to make things right, the Kaleri elder wept. "We thought we were alone," she said. "We thought the galaxy had forgotten us." "The galaxy did forget," Teeman replied. "But humanity remembers. And we do not abandon those who have been wronged." 17 species were found and brought together. Some were suspicious of humanity at first. They had trusted the Council once and been destroyed. Why trust another powerful species? Hyjin provided the answer. She stood before the gathered species and explained humanity's philosophy. "We do not want to rule you. We do not want your resources or your territory. We want something simpler. We want to make sure what happened to us never happens to anyone else. The Council taught us that power without accountability leads to evil. So we are building something different. A coalition where every species has a voice. Where the strong protect the weak instead of exploiting them. Where betrayal has consequences." The new Galactic Coalition was formed with humanity as its military guarantor. It was an unusual arrangement. Humanity maintained the largest fleet, but they did not control the government. Every species had equal representation. Laws were passed to prevent the exploitation that the Council had practiced. Military force would be used only for defense, never for conquest. Some human leaders worried this gave humanity too much responsibility. "What if we become like the Council?" they asked. "What if we abuse our power?" Nari addressed these concerns in a speech that was recorded and saved for future generations. The Council fell because they faced no consequences for their actions. We will not make that mistake. Every 10 years, the Coalition will vote on whether humanity should continue as military guarantor. If we abuse our power, if we betray the trust placed in us, the Coalition can remove us. We accept this because we understand something the Council forgot. Power is not a right. It is a responsibility, and responsibility requires accountability. Si Wu became the Coalition's strategic coordinator, designing a defense network that protected all member worlds. Minseo trained officers from every species in modern warfare, ensuring that no one would be defenseless again. Jiho opened his weapons research to Coalition scientists, but with strict controls to prevent misuse. Yumin continued leading fighter squadrons, but now his pilots came from a dozen different species. He taught them human tactics and learned from their unique perspectives. Together, they became the finest fighter corps in the galaxy. Hannah established training programs for Coalition ground forces. She was tough but fair, treating every species equally. Under her command, the Coalition Marines became legendary for their discipline and effectiveness, but not everyone accepted the new order. The Ravagers, the species that had bought human colonies from the Council, thought the Coalition was weak. They attempted to raid a Coalition world, expecting an easy target. They learned their mistake quickly. The Coalition defense fleet responded within hours. Doyan's forces surrounded the Ravager fleet and offered them one chance to surrender. The Ravagers refused. It was their last mistake. The battle lasted 20 minutes. The Ravagers had never faced an enemy that fought with humanity's ferocity. Their fleet was destroyed completely. The message spread across the galaxy. The coalition protected its members. Attack one and you attacked all? The strong would not be allowed to prey on the weak anymore. Years passed. The coalition grew. More species joined, seeking protection and fair treatment. Trade flourished. Technology advanced. The galaxy entered a new era of cooperation. On Earth, a monument was built to remember Haven's Rest and all the colonies that had been lost. Gunwu's name was carved there along with 3,000 others. Yejin survived the battle and became a commander in the coalition fleet. He visited the monument once a year to remember his friends. Timon never stopped blaming himself for trusting the council. Nari found him one day at the monument, staring at the names. "You did what you thought was right," she told him. "We all did. We wanted to believe the galaxy was kind. The council taught us it was not. But instead of becoming bitter, we chose to make it better." "Did we succeed?" Timon asked. "Or did we just replace one empire with another?" "Ask me in 100 years, Nari replied. "The council thought their system would last forever. We built ours knowing it might fail. That awareness, that humility, might be what saves us from their fate." 10 years after the council's fall, the coalition held its first vote on humanity's role as military guarantor. Every species cast their vote publicly. The result was unanimous. Humanity would continue. Not because they were feared, but because they were trusted. De Yun gave a speech on that day. He stood on the deck of the indomitable, older now, but still strong, and addressed the coalition.